The Jared Dillian Show.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. If you want to call to talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian Show. You can also go to my website, which is jareddillianmoney.com. That's jareddillianmoney.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at DailyDirtNam. What is a credit card? And you're like, you dummy, what kind of question is that? Everybody knows what a credit card is. But really what it is it's a bank account. And it's a bank account where you can borrow money. And these loans are what's called unsecured loans. They're not backed by anything. If you bought a watch on your credit card and you don't pay your credit card bill, the credit card company cannot seize your watch. The watch is not collateral. It's an unsecured loan. Small unsecured loans, also with very high interest rates. And we can talk about the interest rates if you want. I mean, there's a reason they're high. They're literally high because of regulation. We passed the Cards Act in 2009, which was Elizabeth Warren's idea. And when we passed the Cards Act, credit card interest was 14%, and now it's 20%. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why that happened. So these are what's called revolving loans. They're not installment loans. An installment loan is your mortgage or a car loan. You pay a little bit of principal and interest each month, or a personal loan. A revolving loan is different. A revolving loan means that the interest is added to the interest. So let's just say you have a $1,000 credit card bill and you don't pay it, and you have 20% interest, which I guess monthly would be about 1.5% or something like that. So you have $15 in interest. And then the next month, you're charged another 1.5% interest on top of that. So you're paying interest on interest. You're not doing that with installment loans. But at the end of the day, it's a loan and you're borrowing money. And a lot of people lose sight of that because a credit card, you don't think of it as a loan. It's this piece of plastic and it's a convenient way to pay for something. A lot of people don't look at a credit card as borrowing money. They look at a credit card as a convenient way to pay for something. But it's also a loan, and you have to pay it back. If you borrow money, you have to pay it back. This is the part that people get hung up on. If you went to a bank, you walked into Wells Fargo, and you have these people in terrible suits with terrible shirts and terrible ties, and you went to one of these people and you asked for a personal loan, and you sit down and start signing the paperwork, and you give them your driver's license, and you talk to them. That kind of feels like a loan. Like sitting in the branch of a bank and talking to somebody with a burgundy shirt feels like a loan, okay? A credit card doesn't feel like a loan, and people lose sight of the fact that that's a loan. We think of credit cards as magic money. It's magic. I mean, I don't think of it that way, but there's people out there, yeah, for sure, there's people out there that do think of it that way. And then it doesn't get paid back. The other thing about credit cards is that people don't keep track of how much money they are borrowing. Like, that's kind of the problem with it, because you can go around town and you can get lunch and you can buy something at Walmart and you can buy something at Target and you can, go to the grocery store and just keep using your card, and nobody's really doing the math in their head as to how much they're spending. I mean, I'm good at math. And I have a general idea of what's on the card, but usually I just keep track of big purchases. If I spend $900 on something, I know I spend $900 on something. But I just keep track of the big purchases. Now imagine a credit card if we had the technology where you had like a tiny screen on the credit card that showed your balance. How much would that cut down on your borrowing? And one thing about the Cards Act, which was really about disclosure, but it required the credit card companies to put on your statement how many months it would take to pay off the credit card if you made the minimum payment. And some of those numbers are pretty shocking. Like, it would take you 360 months to pay off this credit card, 30 years. And, it's kind of like It's kind of like those warning labels on cigarettes, and dip, where it says, this product causes mouth cancer. And, you look at the can of dip and you're staring right at it. Yes, this product causes mouth cancer, and I don't care. Same thing with the credit cards. Like a lot of people, they just don't care. So it's not that hard to keep track of. Really, all you have to do is log into the app once a week and check the balance. Check how much you're spending. But you have to log into the app and check. I log into the app all the time, probably once a week. And actually, you know what's funny? I haven't done it in a while because I haven't spent much this month. I haven't spent much. So, but usually I check it about once a week to see how I'm doing because it's not a magic money card. A lot of this, I think there's such a thing as financial IQ. I really do. Because there's people who are otherwise like super smart people. And just when it comes to personal finance stuff, they just get it wrong all the time. And an example of that, I'll tell you a quick story. I knew somebody that was doing customer service for a local bank. So she was one of the people, with a burgundy shirt in the bank. And she spent 90% of her time talking to people who came into the bank branch. And they said, why do I have all these overdraft fees? And she said, it's because you're writing checks or spending money and you don't have enough money in the account. This was 90% of her conversations. She lasted like a year in that job. Like it was just soul destroying. These people that didn't understand that you can't spend money you don't have. And people would like have 30 overdrafts in a month and they'd have $600 in fees. They just could not understand the concept that they couldn't spend money they didn't have. By the way, overdraft fees are a big source of revenue for the banks. Billions of dollars. It's like $30 billion a year among all the banks in the United States make on overdraft fees. $30 billion. That is a giant wealth transfer from the unsophisticated to the sophisticated. And if you are a faithful listener to the Jared Dillian Show, I don't want you to be the unsophisticated that is paying your money to the sophisticated. Let's just stop this sort of behavior, right? Now, having said that, I have bounced one check in my entire life. And I did it when I was 22, and I was in the Coast Guard, and I was on patrol, and I wrote a check for something, and it bounced, and I got charged the $20 non-sufficient funds. For me, it was like embarrassing. I was like, oh my God, can't believe I bounced a check. There were really no consequences. Like I didn't go to jail, but and it only cost me $20. But I was mortified. I could not believe that I bounced a check. That's the one time I've done it in my entire life. So a good way not to have overdrafts is to keep plenty of money in your bank account. And that's something we talk about all the time is having cash. If you're, and some people are weird about this. They're like, well, I don't want that much money in my checking account. I want it in my savings account. So they're very diligent about moving money from the checking into the savings. Guys, there's really no difference in the interest. Like the interest rate on a checking account is 0. The interest rate on a savings account is like 10 basis points. It's just moving it from one pile to the other. It doesn't make any sense. Why not have some extra money in your checking account just so that you don't accidentally have an overdraft on your account? That, I think, is a pretty good practice. Yeah, a lot of people keep the minimum amount of money they can in their checking account. We here at the Jared Dillian Show like to have lots of money in the bank. If you want to call to talk about this, I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. It's 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. Same thing with credit cards. You should never pay fees or penalties. That's something I've never done. I've never paid credit card fees or penalties. Most people pay electronically, but back when you were getting paper statements, I would get home and see the credit card bill on the counter. I would get home at like 11 o'clock at night. And the first thing I would do is I would get my checkbook out. This is 20 years ago when we were getting paper statements. I would get my checkbook out, write a check, put it in the envelope, put a stamp on it, hit it with the address stamp, and I go out and put it in the mailbox. I would do that at 11 o'clock at night because I knew that if I didn't do it right at that moment, then I would forget. So it's now that it's electronic, same thing. Like, I know what days my credit cards bill. Let's say, like, the statement closes on the 19th. Like, I log into the app on the 19th and pay the credit card bill. And if I don't do that, and if I forget, then I'm hosed. Some people, for whatever reason, they wait to pay bills. I don't understand that. So today's, October 1st. Say the bill's not due until October 20th. Well, I'll pay it on October 20th. With zero interest rates, there's no motivation to do that. There's no float. You're not earning interest on that money for 20 days. There's no interest. So it makes no sense to do that. Just pay the bill when you get it so you don't forget. And if you make the minimum payment, it's going to take you 30 years to pay it off. Your first goal should be to pay it off every month. You do not want to pay credit card interest. It's stupid and unnecessary. But if you can't pay it off every month, pay more than the minimum. Otherwise, it'll take you 360 months to pay it off, and you'll have interest on interest. One last thing on the points and miles. The points and miles don't make any sense at all unless you never pay any interest on balances. I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show.
The Jared Dillian Show.